What's up, everybody? Happy Black History Month. It's Black History all year round, but the 1st of February is Black History Month. Can you believe it's February? Time is flying. I was just talking about happy birthday to me, and now we're talking about February. Happy February. So, everybody, we have a great show tonight. I got a beautiful panel of people and some old faces with some new, and we're going to chop it up real good on a lot of topics. First and foremost, let me just give my condolences to the Mitchells. My cousins, their mother passed away, and then on my mother's side, my cousin passed away the night before her birthday. Her husband passed away. So, I mean, on both sides of my family, everybody's grieving. And I'm sure people out there celebrating birthdays, so we want to wish some happy birthdays to those that are celebrating their birthdays also. Sponsors, Soft Illusions Art Gallery, Malika and her mother, Reggie Wells Quality Speakers, Daily Arts and Survival Magazine, Ingram Taxes. It's tax season. Get ready, everybody. And Reggie Wells Quality Speakers. And saying all that, we got a show tonight. We're going to talk about Memphis, of course, Tyre Nichols. The funeral was today. I don't know if anybody watched it. Respect to the family. Prayers go out to them during their grieving, their point of grieving. We want to talk about the migrant there. That's a whole nother situation. Want to talk about George Santos too. So there's some stuff. There was a mass shooting. I know Kevin probably knows more details about that. We'll talk about that. Without further ado, so tonight, like I said, as the people come in, for those, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to it. This is Real Talk Chronicles. This is the only show that we're going to have real talk. And we got some civilians coming, other civilians coming in. It's good to see my man Kev. It's good to see Rich. It's my man Ty and Alonzo. Let me start with you, Kev. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Happy, Wednesday to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm one of the few people who've yet to watch the video.
Really?
Oh, but yeah, I figured I'd watch it for the first time live tonight.
Okay. All right. That's what's up.
I almost feel like I don't need to watch it to know my opinion of it already.
Okay. That's real talk, but we're going to definitely talk about that. We lost Rich. So, Alonzo, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Again, happy Wednesday to everybody. Kevin, I know you from one previous occasion. Two other brothers, Tyrone and I think it was Rich. Pleasure to meet you guys.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely come back to you, Alonzo, and ask you your opinions. Ty, how you feeling, my brother?
Doing well. Thank you, Bill.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to be on here with new faces.
Yeah, and we're going to chop it up. Exactly. Rich, what's up, brother? How you feeling, man? He's with us, Rich? Did we lose you? Or Kevin, I think he's working with that 2G.
Apparently, Rich didn't pay his cable bill again, and he's using his neighbor's Wi-Fi.
All right, there you go. So hopefully we still have some more people. I'm gonna have to add Rich and see what's going on if we can get him. Rich, you with us? Yeah, he booting and rebooting and stuff like that. So, let's delve right into this situation. Mr. Tyre Nichols was pulled over. Let's deal with the facts and deal with and then we can go with speculation and the allegations and stuff like that. Mr. Nichols was pulled over for supposedly a traffic stop, swerving or driving erratic. As we all know, everybody out here right now, everybody here is law enforcement, has prior law enforcement experience. Let's see, we're trying to get Rich still. Rich, we got you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. we asked you how were you feeling? How you doing, brother? You good?
Yeah, man. I just had some knee surgery on my meniscus on my right leg. So 10 days ago, I'm good.
Good. Well, we're glad you're feeling better, and we're glad you're doing good. So we're going right into this conversation, Rich. So yeah, I'm talking about exactly. Mr. Nichols was pulled over for a traffic infraction, supposedly. Five officers. I think there was like more than 5 officers, 6 eventually. One officer, they pull him out the car, and they kind of manhandle him. They start roughing him up. I'm dealing with facts. He tries to de-escalate the situation himself. He says, yeah, you guys are doing too much. They continue to do stuff. They start physically abusing them in lieu of trying to say they're trying to make an arrest. Mr. Nichols gets up and he starts to run. He gets tasered by another man, later known, I forgot his name right now, but we can say Officer 6. He tases him. The other officers catch up to him, and they commence to hitting him repeatedly or taking turns. 3 days later, Mr. Nichols passes away due to blunt trauma and stuff like that. So, fellas, we have a lot of us in here right now, and there's supposed to be more. So try to condense your conversations. I'll cut you in a minute if you. It's nothing wrong with being winded, just not long-winded. You know what I'm saying?
You talking to me, Ken? You talking to me, Bill?
I'm just talking about anybody. Because you know why?
I was looking at you, Rich.
Yeah, no. I want to open it up, and I want you all to, express yourself, definitely. But I want you, if somebody says something that another person wants to chime in on, I want everybody to have their ample time to discuss it. So I'll start with you, Rich. What was your whole feeling from that situation?
Oh man, my whole feeling from that whole situation was that it's not much has changed in this whole approach of dealing with people of color when they're pulled over. And it's not even about whether the officers are black or white. It's just the way they're trained or allowed the flexibility to do stuff like that. To me, it comes from the top down. If somebody thinks that they can get away with that or knows that it's not going to fly, the likelihood of it happening is less. But I mean, this is something that's been going on for too long, and people are tired of it. But that doesn't change the fact that it can happen. I mean, at any point, you could be subjected to that kind of treatment to people that are supposed to be there to protect and serve you. I mean, what happened to that guy? I mean, based on what I know and what I saw, is they pulled him over because he was driving erratic in traffic, allegedly. And all I heard him saying is, okay. So, I mean, I don't know much. It's not much more to say about that. I mean,
well, we're going to delve deep into that tonight because, listen, enough law enforcement, and you're a brother of great smarts. But we're going to, like I said, Kev, all of us, Alonzo, Ty, we're all going to delve into this. Now, I'm glad you said that. Later on, I'll get into the alleged gossip after I get the opinions of the rest of the gentlemen. Alonzo, what was your thoughts on that, brother?
Much like Rich just said, I was outraged. That's putting it mildly. I was saddened to see that especially after the last, let's say, 5 years of immense exposure to, police corruption and excessive force issues that have happened repeatedly, that we still have people who, for whatever reason, believe that it's okay to treat people in that manner, to be murderously treated by officers who are, hired to protect. It's just I can't express how bad that is. I can't find the correct words to express how bad that is, how tragic that is. and how not just tragic for Mr. Nichols and his family and that community, but just for humanity, to watch what unfolded and how it unfolded, and the reckless disregard for a person's life. And that's supposed to be the best of us. You know what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
was just tragic all the way around, totally unnecessary.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Ty, what was your thoughts, brother, when you saw that? If you saw it, if not, I'm sure we might. If Kevin can pull it up, we'll see it. And for those that do not want to see it, they don't have to look at the screen. But I will want. If we all look at it, I want us to look at it from a trained eye, and I definitely want to dissect it to what I saw. And I'll tell you after Kevin speaks too. Go ahead, Ty. Mhm.
I did see the video, and what I saw of it was very disheartening. Uh, you know, being a veteran officer that put in time and was in situations where we've done car stops, I saw no need for what occurred, but knowing the element of what's going on in society right now and how uh, uh, certain ideologies get passed down throughout police departments throughout the country. I'm seeing it happen, and I can't believe it's still happening in this day and age, and especially from men of color. It's truly sad because the one thing you do as an officer is you turn around and you see an individual you're dealing with, uh, especially when it's a non-threatening situation, and you have the power. Why are you handling someone handling someone that way? There's no need for it, and I think in that case, in any case, when you deal with an individual, you have to look at him and say, that could be my brother, that could be my son, and it's someone else's son or someone else's brother. There's no need to treat him that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kev?
I mean, there's not much more to say on this. I have, you can get incidents where you get the occasional, there's an argument of weak tactics or this. There's no argument here.
Right.
You know, and do we have to change some things in law enforcement? Should we be doing more spot checking, making sure our officers are acting appropriately? Yeah, I always think we should be doing a little bit more. There are 800,000 cops in this country. The overwhelming majority are spectacular, and most are heartbroken by this. But there are a few animals out there amongst us.
Yeah.
We didn't hire them, but they're also not easy to weed out and figure out. But so we have to do a better job of, besides the early on of, we do an assessment of somebody when we hire them. Bill, you and I have talked about this a bunch.
Yes.
Our academies are too soft at this point, right? We don't yell at our recruits. We don't pick on them. We don't see who can handle stress, right? The first time we understand if somebody can handle stress is when they're out in the street in the middle of something, and that's not what it should happen. And we don't test our officers enough.
Right.
Should we be tested? Should we, there are lots of videos are everywhere nowadays. It's not difficult to test somebody and keep people, in check. It's sad. It's a sad day.
Yeah. Everybody, Real Talk. This is Real Talk Chronicles. If you're watching this, please subscribe to us. I implore you all to subscribe to us. There is a screen, a monitoring is showing on Facebook, but you can only share it from Facebook. So if you have friends that are asking and want to see your handsome faces, then you got to let them know that if they want to talk and chop it up with us, they are going to have to talk via YouTube. Right now, it's probably showing on Facebook to everybody, but I'm more concentrated on the Facebook aspect of it. What's up, everybody? I see you chiming in. Stefani says everyone failed to act, from the other cops that participated in this attack to the EMT that twiddled their thumbs for 15 minutes. Happy birthday, Sharon. Thank you for chiming in with us around your birthday season. My man Ern, what's going on? Hey, family, everybody doing well? Absolutely. Loving God said another overlooked aspect is some law enforcement escalate tensions instead of reasonable interaction. Stefania says every cop knows that they're being filmed, and yet they choose to still do this crap. They simply do not care at this point, and this will continue. Loving God said, good points, Kevin, from your experience. Let me see. I think there's somebody else that commented on this. I want to go make sure I try to keep everybody. Loving God said it might be better to have assigned officers to a specific area so they might get acquainted with the normal faces and their everyday struggles. That that which we used to call community policing and beat patrol. Loving God, right now, due to people trying to advance their careers, it's a short window unless a person is so comfortable in that. So a lot of times, you can see a person that's on a beat for a while, maybe a year, and then next thing you know, you don't see him anymore, but he might be in a sector, or he might be inside, or he might got it transferred. So it's good. That's an excellent idea, and I think that's the way the police department has always been. But you don't want to stop or stifle an officer for advancing his career. And without further ado, I got my other man in the building. It's a love affair right now. It's a Real Talk series here. We got Chuck in the building. Chuck, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, brother, man? I'm sorry I'm on the road. At one point, man, I'll be stable, man, so you won't be hearing all this background noise, man. But how's everybody doing today, man?
Everybody's good, man. We good. Right now, we're already in the midst of it, so I don't know if you saw the video or not, but I'm sure you're definitely aware of the situation, just like, i.e. George Floyd. Everybody has witnessed or heard of this man being murdered. That's a fact. Rather, we'll try to dissect it and how the situation escalated to that is a whole nother conversation. But what's your take and what's your feeling from what you've heard or saw?
Well, first and foremost, man, anytime you see anyone being brutalized, I don't care what color, what race they are, right? It does something to your soul and just the overall aspect of humanity. It says a lot about how we view one another as human beings. And to see this once again, after what we've experienced with George Floyd, and you would think that everyone thought that in terms of reform, like body cameras and everything else would make police officers more accountable. A body cam, it doesn't. It gives us evidence, but it doesn't really seep into the humanity of every human being that either is a part of the police department. You don't know about the psychological makeup of a police officer. You don't know what his intentions are. You don't know anything about him physically or mentally or spiritually. And to see that happen to another black man, I don't care if the officers are white or black, doesn't make a difference. The fact of the matter is it taints any relationship that we as, let's say, a law enforcement community are trying to forge at a very tense time, at a very trying time, and then to take another black man's life, 29 years of age, over a car. I mean, it's a car stop. I mean, I don't. It's like here we are again, and as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it sounds messed up to say this, even from our perspective. I don't know what we need to do to stop it. I don't know how it's going to change. I don't know the dynamic. I don't know what needs to happen for it to change. And what's going to be messed up, which I'm afraid of, is that it's going to take young brothers and sisters going to the street. It's bad enough already that there's a lack of respect for police as it is. But someone's going to take matters into their own hands, man. And it's going to get dangerous for everyone on a communal level, law enforcement, just as human beings. We're all going to end up being at us against them. And it's going to really get really bad really quickly. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, very much so, brother. Now I'll give my perspective from it. And then I'll ask Mark, I'll see your question. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Everybody's coming in fast and furious. No pun intended in lieu of the movie. But when I saw that, I was disheartened for a lot of reasons. One, like you all have stated, you see officers beating a man that was really trying to de-escalate the situation. Like I said, we'll get more in detail with that, and we'll start, dissecting it. But then it was a bad eye for law enforcement. every Kevin, you talk about this all the time. It seems like every one good step we take, we get something like this happens, it's going to push us back 100 feet. You know what I mean? 100 steps. But then what really disheartened me is to see brothers, or let's call them men of color, hypothetically, do this heinous act. Now, we can get into some specifics or speculations before I see the video coming up. But I'm gonna read some questions, but we're gonna get into some speculations. Allegedly, it hasn't been confirmed or denied yet that Mr. Nichols works with one of the officers' wives, ex-wife. You heard that, Kevin?
I was Googling that as we're doing it on all the fact-checking websites, all false.
It's all it's coming back false because the bottom line is
check all the like Snoops and other fact-checking websites to do that kind of work. Every one of them is reporting it's false.
Okay. Well,
there is no connection.
Okay, I'm gonna put it out in the universe, but I'm glad you fact-checked it. But the one thing is that where there's smoke, there's fire. So I don't know how this came about, but now I'm going to tell you this, and fellas, you help me out with this. I'm going to read some questions, but I want to put this in your head. What I saw was an ass beating. I saw it. The way they beat him, it was personal to me. It looked like somebody. It looked like one of you guys called me and said, "Yo, this dude did something to my daughter, did something to my wife, or hurt my mother, or something." And we all had the power to go stop him and committing him. For them to take turns, hit him, walk away, come back, commence to hitting him, abuse him like that. That I didn't see any sign of police protocol. And that's what was disheartening to me. So, Kev, I get it. And I'm glad you're fact checking because stats is stats. You got to do what you do. We missed that part of the game. I don't know until like the family says it that he hasn't done it, or until this, the news hasn't denounced it yet. But like I said, I know you're doing fact checking and stuff like that. But like I said, from the standpoint of what I witnessed and I saw with what I saw with my own eyes, I thought it was terrible. Now, I'm gonna read some questions and comments, and then we'll go to that video. Hold on. Edwina King, what's up, says, she says, I believe cops forget that they have the camera on because it becomes like a part of their uniform, like their gun. Maybe real talk. John Easy said, the sad fact is that this person weighed 150 pounds and had 5 burly officers in front of him. There's no way possible that he was a threat. The fact that he had one cuff on, I guess he says cuff on him, and they took their, let's see what he says, their turns beating on him is heartless. In my opinion, I believe that this was personal, and everyone who participated in this savagery should pay the penalty. Absolutely. Mark has a question. He says, question, guys. I'm sure you all have been a part of special units. These officers were a part of a so-called Scorpion unit. Their purpose was to put down the real bad guys. How can a community combat the bad guys without the officers being bad themselves? I'm well aware it's deeper than what it seems. Ty, I'll come to you first. I'll read the question again if you need me to. Did you hear it?
You mean the question we were dealing with from the beginning, or
no, the one that was just asked? I want his question answered by everybody. So I'll just give everybody a few minutes to answer this question. So the question says, he says, guys, I'm sure that you all been a part of a special unit. These officers were part of a special unit called Scorpion unit. Their purpose was to put down the real bad guys. How can a community combat the bad guys without the officers being bad themselves? I'm well aware it's deeper than what it seems. You want to take a shot at that?
Yes, yes. So I appreciate you coming to me. I was part of a specialized unit for a number of years, and like Chuck said, this is not about policing. This is not about community policing. It does seem like it's kind of personal, but when I look at it and go a little deeper, it's a mentality and a behavior that's been being passed down throughout policing that for centuries, and the only way it's going to break is kind of the way they're doing it now, where they're holding officers accountable, they're locking them up, when there's proof that they have violated the law, and they're suing them. And when you start hitting them in the pockets and you start putting them away, they're going to be a lot more reluctant to do what they've been doing and abusing the public. And there's no need for it. You know, if you look at history and how history already repeats itself, and if you look at how slavery was, when they had individuals who monitored the slaves and went after the runaway slaves, they utilized black men. Okay, and those black men, some of them got carried away and treated their own the same way we saw in this video. And I'm telling you, it's a mentality that has to be broken. And the only way for it to be broken is for more officers to come together and speak out against it, and not to turn around and take the attitude like, oh, there's only a few, you know, and most of them aren't like that. You can't have that attitude, because the mindset gets passed on from the strong to the weak. And this is what you see. You have the weak going out and doing what they do.
Absolutely. Well, Rich.
Well, yeah. Well, I agree with Brother Tyrone, right? And what's going on is that there's a like he said, remember when the Emmett Till thing happened? There were two black brothers that helped kill Emmett Till.
Yeah, they went and got him. Yeah,
so
sure did. Yeah.
That mindset is instilled in a lot of our people today. You know, we seek acceptance by other folks that are in position to make life better for us. When I say the individual person, right? So like I work for this office, right? So if I ride around and I get by police officers, the moment I identify myself as an assembly person, all that smoke stops.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with black officers. If you're a black officer, you're not going to be subjected to the same thing as a black civilian, because the first thing y'all guys are taught is to identify yourselves as law enforcement. So before you start to get a different treatment, once you identify yourself.
Yeah.
So my question is, why do you have to identify yourself to get treated like a human being? Because as we doing this show, there was video shown in a lot of cases when white people are approached, get treated totally different, and there's a level of tolerance.
Are you talking about Jerry? Are you talking about Jerry?
That's one of the guys. Jerry is one of the guys. But you know, I saw one video where a guy was had a warrant at him, and he straight up told him he wasn't. He was at work. They followed him. He literally got in his car right in front of him. Now, if that's to a person of color, it wouldn't go down like that. Right. If there was a cop, whatever cop, they're going to deal with him totally different than a white person, because that white person father might be politically connected, you know, might be financially in a situation where he can cause some damage, you know, to your career.
Right.
But as a black person, it's always a thing where, well, what did he do? You know, what did he say? You know, and as far as all the cam footage and all that goes, just like now, I got one of those bells where if somebody comes to my house, my bell, the camera comes on wherever I'm at, and I can see who's at my door.
Yeah, right.
And then the person's like, yeah, you can see him, but can you see him? And that's what it boils down to. These body cameras are not stopping people from doing stuff.
Yeah, you know what's so funny, and like
know?
My wife always says, like, you call her Tony. Thank God that they had the camera over top of them so to witness this. You know what I'm saying? For the street cam, I forgot the name of it, that to witness this. But you know what's so funny, to your point, and to what Ty was saying too, there isn't any equality sometimes in law enforcement, and I don't still know how it is. And I'm sure if any of these black officers here, besides Kevin, and I understand, I know you've talked about you being pulled over and you've been approached by a penis, and you've got the thing of it. But the thing is, I think for maybe the most of us, a lot of times we've always ran into the penis, and it seems like, wow, why would you always be this dude? You know what I'm trying to say? Chuck, let me come to you. What was your thought?
I mean, once again, I agree with the brothers in terms of historically, unfortunately, brothers have, based on history, right? They've been socialized to follow the suit and to assimilate with the culture associated with policing. I mean, a lot of these cops, unfortunately, as opposed to, let's say, there's a select few that pretty much stand tall in regards to not being subjected or not being in a position to have certain acts or certain behavior displayed in front of them. Like I can speak freely. I can speak freely in terms of you, Bill, and also Kevin. There's this huge expression of certain shit you wouldn't let people do in front of you, and they knew not to do it in front of you, and they knew not to behave a certain way, especially when it came with dealing with anyone who was apprehended. And it's not, and you get other brothers who, unfortunately, historically, because they wish to fit in, right? They don't want to be ostracized. They want to be a part of the clique that they assimilate into this culture, and unless they talk the talk like some of these other officers, or they walk the walk, or they don't put their hands on people, they're looked at differently. So it takes a very strong mentality to say, hey, look, I came on this job for one reason, to serve the community and to be there as an example of how policing should be done, not to fall into line with all these other knuckleheads who disrespect the civil liberties of the communities that we serve. And that was one of my reasons for becoming a police officer, because when I grew up, I mean, I got chased by cops all the time for no reason, right? Just because I'm black. We're all out, we're sitting out on the stoop. Somebody will make some phony call, or they just make up some excuse to want to chase us because they think we may have drugs on us and now we're scattering or whatever. And then when I became a police officer, because I wanted to make it very clear that two things: one, we can police ourselves in a manner which is respectful, and two, I don't need to leave my community to still police my community. Like some cats, once they become cops, right, they get a house in Long Island or Westchester, and they freaking lead a neighborhood. That's not helping the community. But that's a different topic. I don't want to get off topic in terms of where we're at. But there's another way of being able to address that and to show that we as black men make conscious decisions to do this profession and to do it the right way, that is respectful to the community and it's respectful to the people that look like us, that behave like us, that talk like us, as opposed to assimilating. And all of a sudden you start talking like Johnny from fucking Long Island. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to curse. You start, assimilating and sounding like, Johnny from Long Island, and all of a sudden it's, oh, I'm one of the boys. That's not what I came on the job for. I didn't come on the job to be liked. I came on the job in order to help and to provide a service to my people and to show them that there is at least one officer that's going to do this shit the right way. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times that we've had to use force, but not to the extent and excessively like those brothers did. Never have I ever had to go to that degree with anyone. You may have to maybe wang out and guy goes, okay, brother, I got you, man. I understand. All right, come on, let's just. And then after that, you treat him like a human being after that. But to see that display of inhumanity toward another brother, and it be from people of color, that was disgusting, man. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Very, very disgusting. Alonzo, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything the other gentleman said, but I'm going to take it for a slightly different angle. So in addition to everything that Chuck, Tyrone, and Richard had already talked about, I think the other thing, the culture in policing, like they said, historically, it is biased. Historically, it is centered around not just racism, but also classism. But how do we stop it? That was one of your original questions. The only way you're going to really stop this is twofold. I think Tyrone already talked about, you have to hold people accountable, criminally accountable, and civilly accountable. You dig into officers' pockets and you dig into their civil liberties. You commit a crime, you should be treated like anybody else that committed a crime, right? So when people start going to jail and they start seeing that their immunity is cut and they no longer can stand on lies and be protected, that's going to start to change things. But the other part of that is policing is full of heroes, but it's also full of cowards.
Right.
And cowards do the things that we saw on the video, as
Yes.
well as other, infamous instances.
Yeah.
Cowards will do something stupid and then lie about it in their reporting, or get on the stand and lie about it. And they do that because the consequences of them lying is less than the consequences of them, doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then our leaders, and that, to me, here's the key. When you have cowards as leaders, coward leaders allow people to do whatever they want to do without any repercussions, right? This police chief and this district attorney, they acted swiftly to hold these people accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like they acted swiftly to hold these people accountable for those particular crimes, the police chief and the persons that work directly under the police chief, including whoever is heading up the Scorpion unit,
Yeah.
had they been more interactive with their people and held their people accountable and gave their people, expectations like, hey, if you're in this position, these are the things that I expect for you to do, and these are the things that I expect not to happen. You can change it, but there are not enough people who are willing to like stand in the gap, or there are not enough people who are willing to be accountable, to all their folk and say, yo, we're not going to do things this way. Believe me, if the police chief or the precinct commander say we're going to do this, then people will do this, whatever this is. If
Right.
they say
Right.
you can no longer do that, and if you do that, these are the things that's going to happen to you, people will stop doing whatever that is, right? It
Yeah.
is that simple. But the
Yeah.
problem is you don't have enough people who act with courage. You
Right.
have a
Right.
lot of followers and you have a lot of cowards.
Absolutely. Kev, of course I'm gonna let you come in and get your last say. Uh, I agree with all the gentlemen, so it's really I won't just keep beating that horse. I'll just say that, you know, I guess after we watch this video, I mean, I want to read some comments, but Kev, I want to get your take on it. I know you and I talked before about, correct me if I'm wrong. I know sometimes you might not be too in agreement with police losing their pensions and stuff like that. I don't want to misquote you. I think we've had this conversation because we don't know if officers would really do their job. Because sometimes they don't want to do their jobs now. But please give me your take on whatever you feel, bro.
So I got two things on this. I'm all for holding everybody criminally accountable, right? If you're
Right,
a cop, you commit a crime, you should do more time.
Mhm.
That's kind of the way that goes. Civilly, I'm against that, because it's a tough area. Look, I mean, I know Bill. I've worked with Bill. The other three guys. I am sure because you're on here, you were good, honest, admirable cops.
Right.
We all can get sued and lose money, doing our job in a normal day to day. And I'm more afraid of that. These guys, were committing, well, in the end, they committed murder.
Right. That's
And that
facts.
didn't
What
scare,
they said. Yeah.
right? Like that didn't scare them. Money's not going to scare them. Right? Money is not going to. So I don't want it to be where the rest of us can be afraid. Going into the specialized unit stuff, look, we need those specialized units. But let's be honest, right? Like, we've all worked in precincts. We've all worked with cops. You knew who was heavy-handed.
Right. Facts.
Every
Right,
single
true.
one of us knew who was heavy-handed.
Yep.
And they were men and women all of us would never work with.
Yeah.
What is being done about those? I am
Yeah.
sure these guys here, had this wasn't a bad night.
No.
I'm sure there was reputations for being heavy-handed.
Yep.
Right? Why are we not watching them, monitoring them more, reviewing body cams? This is a joke as like an internal affairs investigator. If somebody's known to be heavy-handed, pull their body cams every so often. Let's look at them. Let's review what they're doing on the street, how they're treating people. It's everything is covered. I can't do anything in private as a cop. It doesn't exist. we're not doing our due diligence
Mhm.
on leading these guys. And I get it amongst each other, right? It was a brotherhood. You don't want to be the one. You're not going to be the rat and give up Bobby, who's the heavy-handed guy. Everybody knew. The CEO of the command knew who the heavy-handed guys were.
Yeah, they became the sergeant's op.
Or they became permanently inside the station house, right? They were put
TS on the TS, exactly.
But some of those guys were allowed out.
Yeah. But I think not to take away from anything, and I just wanted to chime in, Kev. I think it's more than just being heavy-handed. It's a toxic behavior that goes along with where leadership reflects attitude. And if you have leaders of certain units that condone certain behavior, then they will continue, because it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out what's right or wrong, especially if you come from a community, where you've seen police abuse. It doesn't take going to jail or getting sued to realize it. But what I'm saying is, in situations where it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that someone has committed a crime and they're in uniform, because remember, when you're in uniform, you have power. You have power to take somebody's life. You have power to take away somebody's freedom. You have power to ruin somebody's life by arresting them and putting a felony conviction on them. And in situations like that, a lot of individuals, because they have power, they turn around and they take it for granted and act the way they do. And the only way to hold them accountable in certain situations is if they know that they're going to lose that house that they moved out of the hood and bought in the suburbs, lose their pension and a way to make a living. They're going to turn around and they're going to start thinking and acting accordingly.
I think we can all agree that people need to be held accountable in some way. What that accountability looks like, I guess we can debate, but I think we all in agreement that there's got to be accountability, and it has to come from the top. I mean, the people are trying to hold us accountable. That's why you see the cell phones out there. That's why you see people stopping when they see police interaction. That's their way of holding us accountable. They make citizens complaints. They lobby their politicians to make, law changes. They show up to court. They file, actions. Like, they're doing their parts to try to hold us accountable. The missing piece is we're not holding ourselves accountable. And we have too many in our profession that are lazy. And I think Kevin kind of hit on that. We know who the knuckleheads are. We know who the criminals with badges are, but we choose not to do things about it. Many of those heavy-handed criminal officers, they get recruited into, the specialized units. They become part of the street crimes unit or the district or station house drug unit. Those are the same dudes that you don't want to work with. The same guys that get on probation or get, on the hot seat, somehow or another, they wind up in these specialized units, under the guys that they're workers and they're out there making arrests, when half, if not most of the rest, they're making a bogus or illegal anyway. But we're lazy. That's why we allow it to happen.
Yeah, very much so. Fellas, I think it's crazy that these situations, like you said, continue to happen. It starts from the tutorial standpoint. It also, like I think one of you said, from the supervision standpoint, I think we all agree, because I know you depend if you work for an officer, a supervisor, a sergeant, i.e. that's not a gun-ho sergeant, he's laid back. You're going to be laid back because he don't have your back per se if the shit hits the fan. Kevin, you and I worked for a real active supervisor. We knew that, he was on 10 all the time. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is he was a guy that got shit done, whether you liked it or not. You know what I'm saying? He he was necessary evil. He was about, you knew what he was about. You know what I'm saying? You knew what he was about. Now, and we all had choices either to stay there or leave. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm with Alonzo Moreland, Tyrone Butler, Kevin Branzetti, Chuck Richards, and Richard Williams. Amir Sealy says hello to all. Amir, you're welcome to come in because I still wanted to get another civilian at conversationalist. The other two ladies that I had, one I haven't heard from, and the other one, she got pulled away on another assignment. So shout out to them. So I'm going to read some comments. And I know, Kevin, you put something in the chat, but Dorian Ross, what's up, sis? She says Black Twitter. So Kev kind of like took away this allegation, but we're gonna still I'm gonna read it because the fact that you're here with us tonight is just beautiful. Dorian Ross said Black Twitter says that Tyre Nichols was talking to a coworker at FedEx. The coworker was the ex of one of the five, and that was the reason for the traffic stop. Has anyone corroborated that? Go ahead, Kev. I'll let you answer that.
That's what I put in the chat, Bill. I put the article to
okay
that kibosh it. It says no.
Okay. All right. Cool. What's up, Barry? What's up, everybody? Edwina King. What's up, big sis? She says if you are raised to stimulate fit in, then the behavior carries over to adult on their jobs. I know you are raised to be an individual, stand for what you believe, and you may have to stand alone. You won't fit in. Let me see if anybody else. I think Mark had a comment. Mark said, okay, the last time I seen something like this was Rodney King. I'm sure this isn't new. It makes me wonder, had the gentleman seen what happened to King? One thing for sure, they would have never happened to a white person. I think, Kevin, a lot of people will always say that and feel that way. And, sorry that you got to listen to that. What's up, Lonnie? Hey, Kim. I'm going to read your comments real quick. But, this is just the reality of what happens. Kevin, we've always said that what's going to happen to a black officer is not going to happen to a white officer on the way home. You know what I'm saying? But, this is why it's such a black eye from me, from just like being a black officer, to see black men. And I think, who said it? Was it Rich that said about Emmett Till, like to see black officers doing that to a black man, not even having any empathy, and where was their moral compass just to say, yo, okay, all right, enough. You know what I'm saying? The average dude in the street sometimes will stop a dude from manhandling or destroying another person. These are officers to protect us, like all of us here that took an oath to protect and serve, and you didn't do that. You let this go to a point of death. And that's where I lost so much respect for these cats. I hope they rot in hell. I really do. I have something to say about that a little later. Kim says, Loving God said, are law enforcement officers allowed to pray in a group or in their uniform? I have no idea, but anybody wants to tackle that? Maybe if they're Muslim or Jewish, if there's something comes up. I mean, they allot whatever they have to do for your religion beliefs, like days off and stuff like that. But officers are not going to get together and kumbaya and pray. That I have never seen anything like that. And y'all, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I ain't seen the officers come together and pray. Kim, go ahead, Ty.
I was going to say, well, ask the lieutenant. I mean, like I said, leadership reflects attitude. I worked with Chuck before he was a lieutenant, and he's a supervisor. If he had a situation where he felt he needed to, I feel he's the type of person that he'd pull a group together and be like, look, those of you who want to join in, and those who don't. And he would pray with them. Am I wrong in that, Chuck, or am I right?
No, I would say that I remember there was at a particular point, there were a group of men and women as well, that they felt that it was necessary that prior to walking out the door or before actually getting out into the field, they wanted to pray together prior. And I know when I was on my first team, there was one particular cat who was overly religious, and he really did, he was not that he was overly religious, but he felt that it was necessary that we as a team at least get the Lord's blessing before we stepped out the door. And he pretty much was adamant about it. So I do recall that my supervisor said, hey, look, if you guys want to partake in that, it's all good. But, he was from a different denomination. He didn't believe in what this kid believed in, so he didn't want to be a part of it. But I would say that there have been groups, or there have been people who at times who have had who have prayed together collectively, regardless of what their, and some of them actually have prayed together despite the denomination, just as collectively as a group.
Hey, I'm gonna ask you, Alonzo, and you were her ranking official. I think like to the rank of captain or higher, inspector.
Yeah, captain and interim director.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, for those that Alonzo, he worked. I mean, he's from New York, but eventually moved, and he worked in Baltimore. So, in lieu of what they were talking about, the question was, and I'll let you answer it because I know. I mean, we're all here. We all believe. I know that. No, Ty goes to church. Chuck is religion, spiritual. Kevin, you're Catholic, Kevin, right? Yes. Alonzo and I know we're both, Baptist, correct, Ron? Yes. So am I. So, Loving God asked this question, and I'll let you answer it, Alonzo. Then we'll move on. He says, "Are law enforcement officers allowed to pray in a group or in their uniforms?" Now, Ty had just said, it all stems from supervision, which he's worked with Chuck, and Kevin was a supervisor. So, Ty and I, correct me, Ty, we're the only ones that were just detectives. Everybody, once you all were supervisors. So, would you have asked your staff to pray with you, or would you have stopped somebody if they would have said, "Let's all pray together," something like that?
I never asked my staff to pray with me. I never encourage or discourage people from, practicing their faith. I did make sure that people were aware that, you have the freedom to practice your faith. If you want to go into a room and, pray before you walk out, that's your prerogative. You could do that. If someone was to say in the group, "Hey, everybody, let's go pray," I would remind that person that, they have to be careful of that type of thing because, it is a workspace and you have to be respectful of persons who may not have a faith or persons who may have a different faith. But you have the ability to, go around individually to people and say, "Hey, I pray every day at this time. If you want to join me," there's nothing wrong with that. And I know in our department, it wasn't frowned upon. And I know there were prayer groups, but usually those prayer groups were after work hours.
Thank you. Loving God said, "Praying that roll call would save lives." I hope it would. I really do. Kim Fielder said, "Putting folks out of cars during traffic stops rarely happens in white communities. Killing unarmed people only happens to Black, brown people. Keep it real. White kids do not fear the police like our kids." Absolutely, Kim. And I'll just stop and say that people of color have to have conversations of how to how to act during a car stop. Chuck and I, not Chuck and I, Ty and I just came off a week of speaking at a school and telling them how to act and doing that. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, it's a business and we do it out of the kindness of our heart. I've pulled in Chuck on things like this, doing this. So, I mean, you're right, Kim. No, there's no argument there. She says officers, especially Black officers, are super polite in white neighborhoods. My profile picture has not been changed since George Floyd. I refuse to change it until police accountability laws are passed. Lonnie, what's up, brother? Dorian Ross, the parents of Nicholas dispelled those rumors saying they were untrue. So that kind of throws that aspect out of there. Stefania says, "Why are the Black cops fired and charged so quickly and not the white one?" Well, I think the white one
didn't go to the scene of the beating.
Yeah, he didn't go to the scene of the beating. He just tased him, right? And then it left. But you know what's so funny? I get it, but I don't get it because I've never seen an officer use his taser or be a part of something and don't
roll out.
What the hell happened later on. Like you didn't see the outcome. Like, I'm just going to tase dude, and
yeah,
I know. I'm go back to my car and eat my sandwich. I've never seen that. So I get what you're saying, Ty. I don't know, but you know what's so funny? Hopefully they'll come out and we'll find more intel in that. She says, let's see who else says anything. I don't want to miss anybody's comments and questions.
Hey, Bill, can I respond to that real quick? I think, not seeing the whole video, but the first officer, the one who tased, that was the initial car stop. And I don't know what he did after that initial tasing, after, Mr. Phillips ran away, but it's apparent that he didn't make it to the second scene. And I think because those officers were involved in the beating that at least the coroner is saying was responsible for Mr. Phillips' death, that's why those guys were charged.
McNichols?
I'm sorry, Nichols' death. That was the reason that they were, obviously charged. So I'm gathering that although this person has been suspended, criminal charges I think might be a little less likely.
Right.
At least to that degree.
But I agree with you, Buck. But what's so funny is just that I'm confused from a law enforcement standpoint, because if
how you gonna be there one moment and disappear the next?
Yeah, because
that makes no sense.
That's crazy unusual.
Yeah, because I've never seen somebody. Because what happens if Mr. McNichols all of a sudden turned into Wolverine and started whipping everybody's ass? Then when we get back to the barn or the precinct, I'm going to look at that officer and be like, yo, white, black, or whoever he is. I was like, yo, you left me. I got my ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, he left because
I'm not
he
sure
because he saw it was going bad early on.
Maybe Ty, I mean, you're right. Buck, maybe Alonzo, you might.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say, Chuck? I'm sorry, I don't want to let you.
I think I'm not sure. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think I think I reviewed the video numerous times. I think there's one point where I didn't catch the officer's name, the white cat, that they ended up suspending. But at some point, the second part of the video, toward the end, there's someone that comes over and says that they have someone under when they're talking to the lieutenant, and they ask a question. He's got somebody under. He says, "Hold up, where is that guy? What is he still over there where we were initially?" Right, so I'm wondering if the person they're speaking about is this particular white officer, because he didn't follow up. He stayed over wherever the situation first started. He stayed there, and suppose someone came over the radio, said they were holding one in connection with this incident, and he says, "What is he still doing over there? Why isn't he over here?" So I'm not sure if that was the officer that they were talking about.
But you know what's so funny? I get it. Listen, did he know these guys are cowboys? And he was like, "Yo, listen, everybody, this is Real Talk. Excuse me, we're gonna give you real talk right now. If we know an officer is just a bad taste, we're gonna be like, yo, I'm out. I don't want to know. What's the famous police line? I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything about this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think you're right. I think Junior knew the reputation of these cats was like, I don't want no parts of that smoke. I know where they're going. I don't want to be no parts of it, and stayed away from it.
Right.
But on his body cam, he's recorded saying, "I hope you give him an ass whipping when you catch him." And if I'm thinking based on protocol, first of all, I don't think he needed to deploy his taser anyway. And you're struggling with a guy, like, he has no weapon. You're trying to cuff him. Why are you deploying your taser? 1, 2. I'm thinking maybe he couldn't leave the scene because he deployed his taser, and he had to wait for a supervisor to come there because he did deploy his taser. So that's me just thinking from that standpoint, and that's the only reason why he probably wasn't at the other scene.
Well, listen, this is what we do right now. We're all I
think all of that is possible.
Yeah, because we're trying to help John and Jane Q Public understand from our eyes, because this is the only way they're going to be able to hear these kind of conversations. And we're trying to give a good intel with that. Kev, I'm going to read some comments and then we can go to this video, okay? All right. Kev, I have a question. I need you to do your stat check. It just seems like the chief, when she was in Atlanta, had another group similar, called like Red Something. And with that being said, she started a union like that, but they were similar to the Scorpion group, and that got dismantled because they were monstrous like this. Now, I don't have a problem with a supervisor implementing groups that they feel will combat crime. What I have a problem with, if you're just saying, yo, listen, if you're an ass kicker, I want to put the best ass kickers together and then go out there and then just let them run amok. You know what I'm saying? On the communities. Because the bottom line is there are necessary evil. I get it. We listen, everybody here has worked in a specialized unit when we've had to get our hands dirty, and I'll leave it like that, but not to this extent. And this is the problem with that I have right here. Like, yo, you're taking something to the means that nobody even understands. Because no matter what we're talking about, if somebody was dating somebody or not dating somebody, there's a man that died, that he didn't escalate the situation. When you get pulled out of a car and the first thing you say is that, yo, you guys are doing too much. He's like, okay. He's not asking for that smoke. And they kept giving it to him. Let me read some comments and then we'll go to the footage. And everybody will definitely put the disclaimer up. If you don't want to see this footage, please, when we show it, just turn away and then come back, and we'll be able to speak about it. Let me read something. Deborah, what's up, D Brown? She said this is on a great case. This is a great case to prove the difference in accountability, FBI and white officers. Yeah, we can talk about that. We can go listen. Real Talk Chronicles. We go down a rabbit hole. We could talk about white situations and black. That's why Kevin is always here, and he has no problem going down that rabbit hole with us. Let's see. Stefania said,
I thought I was getting it easy tonight.
"No, you're getting it easy."
I was like,
"No, you're getting it easy."
I was just going to sit here and be quiet.
You're getting it easy, brother. You know what? If you want to pull a parachute, I totally get it. Hold on. He says, Stefania says, why were the black cops fired and charged so quickly and not the white one? I think we kind of tackled that. I think what has happened is that the white officer did not touch them, so he's under departmental disciplinary charges right now. Alonzo and Chuck, I'll let you take that from your standpoint as a supervisor. I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, right now he's on administrative duty because right now he's under investigation, being suspended to find out pending something like that. Go ahead, Alonzo, then go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead.
Sure. So because he was, my thinking is this, and this is me also spending 10 years in internal investigations, right? From the video, it looks like he was in on the initial car stop. It's debatable as to whether he should have used his taser during that situation, right? From a tactical standpoint, you can debate whether he was using the appropriate amount of force. You can actually be investigated and suspended for that particular situation that he found himself in. My guess would be, because he didn't make it to the second location during the beating, that, for lack of a better way to put it, that kind of spares him from, at least for right now, from criminal charges. Now, you can always be criminally charged for tasing someone if it's deemed that you did it inappropriately or you did it criminally, right? But that's where the internal review comes in. So that would be my guess. That would be like the normal course of a situation as to why a person like him is in charge when the other ones are. I could be wrong, but that's kind of like usually how it goes.
Chuck? Where's Chuck? Oh, we lost Chuck. Okay, let me read some more comments. I guess Chuck will come back. Sharon says, these cops appear to have some type of mental health issues. I've seen this type of gang mentality in other agencies as well. Kev, Rich, you want to take a stab at that?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you, bro.
All right. I want to go back to something you said. Well, one of you guys said before about not wanting to work with that kind of officer, right? If nobody that's a good officer wants to work with that bad officer, there will be nobody there to check him when it happens. So therefore, all they do is get people that are like-minded to work with each other. And what purpose is that? Because if you work with him, what does that say? That you're not going to do your job and protect and serve and check him when he commits a crime, or just your simple presence will prevent him from doing it because he know you're not with it. But if you're going to decline to work with him, that's like giving him a green light to only work with like-minded people. So that unit is going to roll like that. You know,
Kev, Ty, I'll let y'all go. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying there, Rich, but I got to go with the other cops. It's not their responsibility. The bosses know.
Mhm.
And so I got to look at it this way. If I work, we're all cops, we work together. And let's not pick on one of us. Johnny, the sixth guy with us, we all know is heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still out on the street every day. What does that tell me that the boss is letting him out?
but Kev, how do you know he's
So
heavy-handed if you're not
I'm
working
not
with him?
going down with him when it happens.
But
That
if you're
boss
not
is letting him
working
out.
with him, if you're not working with him, how do you know he's heavy-handed?
Because
Exactly.
you have worked with him. We all know it's one of those things. You know who the dope heads in your neighborhood is. You know who the jackass is across the street. Like you know your people. I knew my people. We all knew our
But
people.
I understand that part. But
So
what
if
he
the
knows
CEO of the
about
precinct
you,
lets that person still go on the street.
A lot of times,
do?
what I've seen is the supervisors form a relationship in most cases with those individuals because they feel that if shit ever hits the fan, those are the individuals that are going to
Mhm.
protect them and take action.
Yeah.
And they pair the individuals who are like-minded up together in those situations, and and that's what happens. I could tell you, you know, I've worked in units, I've worked on patrol, and I've seen it where the people that sit in the car together, they're like-minded for whatever reason. When they have someone in there, then and two people or three people in there, and they're not like-minded, you can see and hear and feel the uncomfortability because who's toxic can't misbehave because they know that other individuals in the car who aren't toxic and have a mind of their own aren't going to jump in on where they're at. And for that night or for that day, they're going to be in an uncomfortable situation.
but that's my point. And that's
Yeah.
what your duty is to do, to make him at least feel uncomfortable. But to say, hey, I'm just going to stand over here and let them do them, I mean, to me, that's part of the problem. You know, if you're not going to be willing to say, yo, motherfucker, I don't give a fuck. They assign me with you. That shit you do,
Rich, let me just say this. It's and this is no disrespect. It's easy for the person on the outside to say that when nobody wants to get involved and get ostracized and have people looking at you crazy. The bottom line is the way that internally handled, the way we've all handled this. If I know you're heavy-handed, excuse me, I don't want to work with you. Yo, I go to Kevin, I go to Chuck. I go to Alonzo and be like, yo, listen, I want to change units, or I'm gonna try to get out that unit, because the bottom line is I'm not gonna let this man jeopardize my job. Now the bottom line is this is where I think you're looking for the serpico in the person to be like, yo, listen, yo, Sarge, dude likes to be hitting and punching people a little bit excessive.
That's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen, because what's going to happen is that Sarge may be buddies with somebody else.
Yep.
And he's going to go tell dude like, yo, you know, Bill just came and told me that you heavy-handed, and because he told me at the office, now I got it. Because now if I don't do anything, and Kevin and Alonzo, you can talk about this. Once you tell somebody something at work as a supervisor, you don't know if that person is
There ain't no secrets.
Right.
There ain't no secrets.
I can tell you from experience.
The thing about that is you're not going to be put in a position, right? Because you whip some white guy's ass, because they're not going to let it happen. You're going to
disputing that. Yeah.
You're going to always feel uncomfortable doing that rah-rah shit to them white boys. So your mindset is, oh, we're not doing that to them, but when it comes to us, we're going to do that to us, or I got to bow out of this one. So that's acceptable in the community of policing, that we can do it to them,
Rich,
right?
There was a change. Like old school policing And if we went back further in NYPD, I probably
Tell that to the dude that just got murdered.
No, I'm not
That
telling
old school police and shit.
No, but let me finish. So, it used to be accepted. A guy ran, he got a couple of good shots, right? You took shots on him.
Yeah,
right?
that was a rule. You don't run. You don't run. Exactly.
He got a little bit of a pounding, right? There was an old school rule of these things, and it changed. The department's changed. NYPD clearly matured from that. That was not an accepted thing when I was there. I never seen it. You heard stories of it going beforehand. There was a change. There are some departments that are just way behind and still think this shit's okay.
Kev, we ain't talking about a beating. We talking about murder.
Well, this is murder. I'm not talking.
We ain't talking about beating.
But see, it starts with those things, right? You think
it starts with a beating, though. It starts with the beating, and it gets to that point. I don't know.
In some
like
cases,
in this case, I don't know whether they intended to murder this dude or not. But the point is, there's no reason for them to have to do it. I'm a firm believer. Like, look, if you're out there committing crimes, and I'm policing, and I'm the law enforcement officer, I'm expecting you to run. You're supposed to run. So I don't have to beat you because you run. Now, like Kevin said, yes. When I was on patrol back in the 90s, I watched someone get tuned up for running, and I had to stop them. I had to stop 4 guys who, and mind you, the perp was white, okay, because the precinct was predominantly white. But the situation was when I stopped them. When I
gotta have Tyrone repeat that to Rich.
What?
No. I'm saying
he didn't get killed.
But
I heard that part.
He didn't get killed. He didn't get killed.
Yeah, I heard that part.
But you're also talking about 1993, 94, okay, which was a long time ago, and I never really saw that done like that ever again, okay. But I did have to step in, and that's what NYPD and other departments across the country had trying to instill in these officers. Like, look, there's got to be somebody who's sane enough to say to the other guy, enough is enough, stop. And if he doesn't, he's held just as accountable if he doesn't step in. And as far as going to a supervisor, if a supervisor is friends with that individual that's heavy-handed, he's going to look at you sideways when you speak to him. Because I spoke to a supervisor who I thought I was cool with about another officer who pulled somebody out of a car and threw him down in the water, and it just finished raining. And I said to him, like, first of all, I had to stop him because the guy's cuffed now. And why are you doing that? And the supervisor's looking at me like, why am I coming in with? Because if he's doing that now, who knows what he's going to do tomorrow when I'm not standing there.
So what did the perp look like?
Oh, the perp was black in that situation.
There we go.
But Rich, let me just say this. We have not been afforded the opportunity to work in white neighborhoods that have high crime rates because a lot of them have different crime rates. So to hold us accountable for something that we have never been in a situation, like nobody downtown, like, listen, Mr. John Q. Public is not coming in my face and doing a Karen thing. Oh, I'm paying your tax. Get the fuck out my face, dude. Listen, we're not having that, okay? I'll punch you. I'll slap the shit out you. And Mr. Rubinowitz or whatever his name is Johnson and shit, will be like, oh shit, he's gonna slap the shit out of me because I'm about to slap the shit out of him, right? So that's where that goes. Now, where's the high crime value in certain areas? It's in our neighborhoods. That's a fact. We can't do that. So the bottom line is, are there officers that have a mentality that, listen, I'm here to like, I believe in the red, white, and the blue, and I'm going to make the world a better place, and bam, 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 whatever that shit. Yeah, there's motherfuckers out there. I had a rookie tell me in narcotics that, yeah, we're here to control people. And I almost slapped the shit out of him because, who the fuck are you talking to, punk? You know what I'm trying to say? You sitting here telling a black man that you're working in a precinct of color and you're here to control somebody. You can't control your girlfriend that's beating your ass. And then you're going to talk about you're going to control the other community. You don't come here and exercise. I've said this all the time. Listen.
I agree.
No, hold on, Rich. Hold on. Let me just say this. I rock with Kev because Kev. I'm just using Kev as an example because Kev was righteous in what he did. Right? You know what I'm saying? If he had to touch you, he touched you. He chased you. He loved fucking running. Damn near, I'm gonna call him Kevin Deere. You know what I'm saying? Because he just like to run his little ass off. But I'm saying all this to say that there's no way in hell. I've seen white officers not want to work with white officers because they don't want to get caught up in that. Yo, why did we have to call a bus, an ambulance for those that don't know, in police jargon, a bus is called an ambulance. Why we got to call a bus? Because a dude just on a certain talkback end up getting a fat lip. Why? White officers don't want to work with certain things. But Rich, you can't put us all in a bubble and say, yo, listen, how come this didn't happen in the white communities? I don't know, because I ain't working in white communities, brother. Every community that I worked in was high in crime. And it's a shame that it was people of color. I don't know what anybody else worked at, Alonzo, Ty, or Kev. You can comment and say what you want to say. But
Can I ask you something,
Well, I
though,
can
Bill?
say,
yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
One of the
Go ahead, Lance.
communities that
Go ahead, Lance. Yeah.
one of the communities that I did work in was predominantly white at that time, but it was white and poor, and it had a lot of the same issues that, you know, communities of color that are poor also have. So yeah, they were in the precinct that I worked in predominantly were white officers, and many of those white officers treated those people the way you would see some of these incidents on television. They treated those persons the same way. Now, I'm not going to say
their behavior. Yep.
right. I'm not going to say, I can't say that I saw anyone being murdered, you know, like we saw there, but I did, you know, see on a couple of occasions where officers was heavy-handed. In one case, you know, where I had to intervene from a white officer, you know, beating down a young guy who was like half his size. So yeah, it happens. Probably not to the extent that it happens in the in black and brown communities. I'm definitely not going to say it's to the same extent. It does happen, definitely not to the same extent. I think classism falls in there, like when you work in those areas that are more affluent, officers know how to behave in those areas. So again, it goes back to something I said earlier. It's usually not about training. It's usually about, you know, the culture and what they're allowed to get away with, you know.
And let me just say this. Let me piggyback. Hold on, Ty. I'm gonna let you come in, Ty, and then Kev, you know, and then we can go. Rich, you can close it out. And then I just want to read some of the comments because people are hot and heavy in here. First and foremost, when I worked in narcotics, and we saw when some of the white investigators saw, i.e., that terminology, white trash. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. Ty, correct me if I'm wrong. Alonzo, correct me if I'm wrong. When they found that white people in communities of color buying drugs, they were hard on their ass just because, like, yo, I know you here to buy drugs and I'm gonna abuse you. Like, you know, you gonna get this shit. Like, what are you doing here? Where are you from? You're from Schenectady? What are you doing down here? And sometimes they could get the hot hand. You understand what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is they know them white people just didn't want to get arrested. Now, unbeknown to me or to, I didn't know if they got arrested or not arrested, right? But what I'm trying to say is that it seemed like sometimes white officers got mad when they got caught the white kids in the community of color buying drugs because they knew they was there. That's just what I saw. And then otherwise, I didn't go back to the precinct because that happened when I was an undercover. You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't know. I just knew we did with a certain kind of count. Ty, you can comment on it. Go ahead, brother.
What I was going to say was this. I was in a situation where I worked in a predominantly white precinct early on in my career. The issue is this. If like Rich said, if individuals put on a uniform and all of a sudden they feel like they're in a different class no matter where they come from, right? And all of a sudden, whatever class they were in, they feel they're at a higher level because they're in a uniform now. And now they look down on individuals within the community. I had a young white officer work with me after working with me on one tour on the 4 to 12, he was honest enough to say to me at the end of the night, he said, I'm glad I had the opportunity to be able to work with you, because honestly, before working with you tonight, I was under the impression that everyone in the community was animals and this was a jungle. And he said, from working with you and seeing how you treat people, whether good or bad or indifferent, I understand it. It's everyone's human. I said, yes, everyone's human. And the problem is this: cops, no matter what ethnicity they are, if they don't have a level of empathy for the people that they interact with, you're always going to continue to have these problems. If they don't see the individuals that they interact with is their equal, because one, they don't see them coming or living in their communities. They don't see them going to the schools that they go to. They don't see them in the churches they go to. They don't see them as the same color as them. So now they turn around and treat them based on, which I would call a class situation, with this level of racism, because it is racism, because the only way you can affect racism is you have to have power. And once you put on that uniform or you have a badge and you're in the community trying to do your job, you have the power. And that's what it boils down to.
A lot of that is classism too, Ty, because like you said, many of these officers, they forget that the bare minimum, maybe it's different now, but when we came through, the bare minimum was what? A GED and a driver's license, right?
Yeah.
So don't think that your GED and your driver's license make you better than the plumber or better than the cook or better than the person working down in McDonald's. But Tyrone is right. Some of us get this job and we get the stature because there's still a lot of stature with being a police officer. It's still a tremendously respected profession, and along with the salary and the benefits and all of that. And you tend to forget that you came from the very place that you're, now charged to protect. And you start to think that you're above it, and that you're better simply because you were lucky enough to get that job where maybe someone else in the community wasn't as fortunate enough to get that job. And in your attempt to assimilate and all that, you start taking all that craziness, that Tyrone was talking about. It's not an excuse, but it is one of the reasons that things happen that way. People just totally forget. And they willfully forget. They willfully forget.
It's so funny. Rich, say what you gonna say, and then Kev, and then I just want to read some comments. Hold on, Rich, for a second. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I hope you're liking this conversation. I got some dynamic gentlemen with me. I got Alonzo Moreland. I got Ty Butler. I got Kevin Bransteady. I got Richard Williams. Listen, I'm your host, Bill Forster. This is what we do. It's Real Talk. If you like what you hear, subscribe to it, share it. The link is up on. I see Laura Gall. I see a lot of you ladies have in comments, so many comments and questions. We're still going to watch this video. We'll ask you, if you don't want to see it, turn away and then come back, and I'll mention that you can come back. But we will watch this video just because we want to dissect it a little more. We still want to talk about George Santos. Oh my God, the migrants.
Chuck is sorry to cut you off, Bill. Chuck is trying to get in, and he says let him back in.
Yeah, I told him he can come back in, definitely. Okay. So thank you, I appreciate you. Hey, Susan, shout out to everybody that's chiming in. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I ask you all to subscribe to it on YouTube. Help build the content. If you like what you hear, this is what it's at. You're going to get this Mondays and Wednesdays. This is what we do. I'm going to read some comments, but go ahead, Rich, and then I'll let Kevin finish it out. Or, Rich, you might have to be the last one because I know this is your topic and this is what you want to discuss. But go ahead, Rich, please.
All right. When you talk about this classism stuff, right, you can take a situation like Oprah Winfrey going over to Spain. She goes, and Oprah Winfrey, when you talk class, right, she's a billionaire. She goes over to Spain, goes in the store, and they treat her just like a regular black person they would treat anybody. And then when they told her who she was, they still didn't care. She had enough money.
But that's Oprah's problem. That's Oprah's problem.
I'm talking about classism, though. Yeah. I'm talking about classism. You take a poor white person and a poor black person, and they will both get treated differently, and they're in the same class, right?
Mhm.
So it's more than just classism. It has a lot to do with systemic racism,
Okay,
right?
I
So
agree.
now,
I
when
agree.
we talk about this whole thing about the neighborhoods that have the heavy crime in it, like Harlem and the South Bronx and all of that, these neighborhoods are flooded with drugs, guns. They don't make guns. They don't make heroin. They don't make cocaine in Harlem. These things are planted in communities that look like us, and we're red line zone where they make sure that this is where we are, and they flood all of that stuff into the neighborhood. What else are you gonna get but crime? You're gonna get people that aren't afford opportunities from education, vocational training, the arts. They took all of that shit out of schools, right?
Mhm.
And then they make readily available opioids, heroin, cocaine, all of the stuff that they can readily grab. Now they're filling the criminal system with it. I mean, this thing is a system. This is a big, heavy machine that's
But
not
Rich,
just
let me
law
just interject.
enforcement.
Let me
That's
Rich, let me just
a
interject.
part of
Hold
it.
on, give me a sec on this. Do you think anybody here does not agree or agree with you? The bottom line is when you
But
say
no,
this,
when you say you only police the black neighborhoods where they have this kind of stuff, you got to be mindful of the whole machine that's in place, that you are now reducing a civilian. Now, my father wrote numbers and he ran the streets. And back, I'm 63. I'll be 63, God willing, in July. I remember the mid 60s, the late 60s, the 70s, when crime was rampant in the city, and how police, sure, they touched up the criminals, but there was a line. There was the civilians that didn't get that kind of heavy hand. They did that to the criminals, the drug dealers, the whatevers. They practiced that kind of shit on them, right? But the civilians was left out of it. But now you get in a situation where a civilian, this guy that just got dragged out of his car, civilian. He wasn't one of the dudes gang banging, running the streets, selling drugs and all. No, he's just a regular guy that got dealt a fucked up deal, and he's not the only one, right? So when we talking about how police and dispense sometimes a little touch up and all of that, I got that. But when you start murdering civilians just because they there, come on, man, what are we talking about here?
So
I'm 100% when it comes to policing, law enforcement, I'm with that. But I'm not with that shit where you want to only dispense that to a certain group of people and a certain complexion of people, and then try to compare the justice that's been given to disenfranchised white folks and then the whole population of people of color. And it don't make a difference who you are. You can get it. You can get it.
I agree. I agree with you.
Anybody?
I mean, I agree with Rich. I mean, yes, there's systematic racism in place, but understand first how the system works, right? And there's three systems at play, and all three systems are corrupted. You have the political system, you have the economic system, and you have a moral system. Now, as cops, you play into the political system. Okay, we're there. Believe it or not, we're there for political reasons. Okay, I'm not going to go into all of the whole meaning behind it, but we're there for political reasons. We're mostly effective in communities where there's a lot of economic oppression, right? But as law enforcement officers, no matter where we come from, we can't play into a specific moral system. We have to go in there and know that we have to treat people accordingly, like they're human beings, no matter what color they are. And that's where the problem comes from. And I agree with you. Yes, what's being done is wrong, and it has to stop. But for it to stop, you have to you have to address what the real problems are. Okay, the problem that we've had in our communities with economic oppression has been going on since the end of slavery. Okay, and every time we try to get a foot up, there's always something to pull us back down. Okay, and then they've implemented law enforcement in there to help in whatever it is, and they tell law enforcement this is what's going on, and you're gonna combat this today, or you're gonna combat that today. Okay, but let's deal with the issues at the root. And at the root of it, when it comes to dealing with law enforcement, is the morale of individuals in the police department has to be changed. You have to change the mindset. And it's not necessarily a training thing. It has to come from individuals outside of the department and individuals within the department who have rank and have a certain level of respect, and they're going to turn around and teach these individuals coming up.
But you know what it feels like? You ever played that game, Johnny on the Pony?
Nah, that's
yeah. I remember that when we were.
I'm not that old. I don't know Johnny on no damn pony.
That's when you line up, bend over, and
tell me how
one person jumps on your back, another person jumps on your back, and another.
Oh yeah. That's what they call it. Yeah, Johnny on the
your
pony.
Team will collapse the opponent. Okay. That's what this shit is like. This shit is like Johnny on the Pony. So when black officers or brothers decide they want to join law enforcement, you either playing Johnny on the Pony or you not. Right?
And that's what happens.
Johnny get punched in his mouth.
Just jump on the back along with the white folks. Jump on the back with them. And then justify it.
Well, everybody, hold on. I want to read these comments. I do want to see this video. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I have Alonzo Moreland. I have Tyrone Butler. I have Kevin Branzetti, Richard Williams. Chuck is in the building. Chuck, I'm sorry. The screen didn't show me you. I would have put you in. I want to read some of these comments and these and all questions. And then I want to show this thing, and then we can go on to another topic. Not really, but
another topic could be another day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have to. But I want to know. I would love to know what you think about this boy George Santos and the migrants downtown. Because I had somebody hit me up and it was like, "Yo, these migrants are asking for a little bit too much. They getting a little, Hey, I was like, And then I had somebody, about your man George Santos. Like, dude is like, "Yo, I'm not going." He's dancing in another town, making up, dressed up as a woman or whatever, and he's he out of control. And then he done lied about everything in his mother. He lied on his mother. Like, dude is just reckless. So I do want to get the thoughts. So I'm gonna give us 15 minutes on this. It's 1:32. I guess I'm gonna give us about another 10 minutes on this, and then we're gonna talk about those guys. But everybody, please subscribe and like it. Let me read some of these comments. If I miss anything, please blame it on my eyes and not my heart, everybody. I ask you all to subscribe to it. A loving God said, in an instant, so-called respectful citizens of society can cause trouble and then be given a benefit of the doubt, when in reality, committed multiple offense, that they have committed multiple offenses. Lauren Gall said the drugs they had backfired because I'm gonna have to start with a lot of people from the beginning. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I appreciate you all. It's a beautiful thing to see all this love out here. Stefania, Lisa Allen, Laura Gall, Kim Felder, Yvonne Lopez, Rock is in the building, Deborah, Tawana Scott, Susan Brownsville Vega. It's always good to see you, sis. We work together. Lynette, Walter. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. I'm just trying to catch some of these comments and things. Lonnie Cox is in the building. Let's see. Lisa Allen said, right, if he is saying that he is ultimately a part of it, maybe not physically. I guess we're talking about, I'm trying to read in the past. I apologize to those that I weren't able to read as we were going on. But Stefania made a good point. Kevin, remember I asked you about the chief? Stefania said, yes, she was the chief. She lied to protect her friend's husband. He was being investigated for child porn, and she told the detective to drop the case. Wow. Okay. Uh, let's see, Lisa. Let's see, because I had asked a question about the chief with the case in Atlanta. She started a similar unit with a different name, and it's Safanya, I think, confirmed it that she did have a union like that, but she was ostracized, and then all of a sudden she came to Memphis. I don't know, Atlanta, Memphis. I don't know which is higher, which is lower. I just saw a thing because I do want to dissect this from an investigative standpoint. If it's not about the woman that has been proven to not be factual so far, then why would they beat him like that? And then I saw George. I hate to disrespect his last name on Channel 7. He asked the chief during an interview. He said, "What was their? Do they have a criminal background?" Now I don't know Memphis's police hiring, but we understand with New York City that there was no tolerance. I don't know what it was for Baltimore. I don't know what it was for further south or west. But for George to ask her, do they have a criminal background? And she listen. It was almost like she was a deer in headlights. She was like, like in New York, you would have definitely, if you would have asked a high-ranking official, does Alonzo Moreland or Ty Butler or Bill Forster or Kevin Razzetti have a criminal background? They was like, no, the hiring process does not allow felons or misdemeanors in that aspect. Right, Chuck? So, I mean, I was so thrown off by that. So I don't know what the Memphis background is. I don't know what their background is in law enforcement. I know the one thing I do know, if it's not about a woman, I don't know what it's about, but I do know a young man is dead and he should not be dead. I do know that. That's facts. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, everybody, we're trying to go down rabbit holes. We're looking for doors. As investigators, detectives, supervisors, we've all done extensive work on cases. We're trying to connect the dots. We do not know. We do not know what. Yes.
Can I say this? When
absolutely.
You asked, what was the cause? And I hate to say this, but I know it to be true. Oftentimes there is no reason. They did it just because it's Tuesday, just because it's Wednesday. Many times these officers don't need a reason to, brutalize people or to steal from people. They do it oftentimes because they were in the moment. They do it oftentimes because they're angry, because they can, because they feel superior, because they see the person's less than. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but mostly all those reasons make absolutely no sense to clear thinking folk. You know what I mean? They do it because the opportunity was there and they could. In their minds, they could do it. And sometimes sometimes it's that primal and that simple, which kind of shows you the magnitude into which we've fallen, as a people, that people can just go out there and just, the opportunity is there for me to commit this crime. Let me commit this crime. No reason, just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Right now, I'm just going to read a couple of comments, and then we're going to show this video. So if you do not want to watch the video, Kevin, what's the timestamp on it? Maybe like what, about 5 minutes?
It's a short one.
Okay, good. Okay,
only the after the
all right
the beating part, not the
all right. Laura Gall said the drugs have backfired because their communities are flooded with meth addicts and opiate addicts, all on TV talking about how they destroy their homes. Exactly. Things change exactly when, shame to say it. Listen, white people get on drugs, we got a problem. We got to talk about it. Black people get on drug, what was it, 5 hours, right? A body. You know what I'm saying? Michelle said, "What's up, sis? 4-star in the building." She said, "Good conversation, but poor for some people in the mindset for blacks and whites." Laura also said, "Policing involves a multitude of issues: training, racism, disenfranchisement, unhappy with their jobs, politics, divorce, low self-esteem, mental illness, pathological liar, period. Darren Joseph is in the building. Junius, what up, Junius Evans and OG in the building, baby. So everybody right now, we're about to show this video. If you do not want to see the video, please come back within maybe 3 minutes.
So, look, I throw something in there because I did a little work.
Yeah, go ahead, Kev, please.
The chief. So, and I put out her resume in the chat. She was fired but reinstated on appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, strangely, because Oprah Winfrey's name came up in this, Oprah Winfrey named her one of the one of the most influential women in the world, right? Like, so she had some accolades after that. So she was fired but reinstated upon appeal. That they appealed the case and she got it. Her career continued in Atlanta. She made it the chief in Atlanta, left there, and went to Memphis. So it wasn't as like she was fired, not working for a decade, and then Memphis hired her. She was fired, won her appeal. So that means that firing does not count against her.
Right.
It means sort of nothing at this point.
Right.
And she was considered, she was the president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. You know, she was been featured on Good Morning America, the Oprah Winfrey magazine. She has really been somebody of power and respect for a long time before she was hired by Memphis.
Well, yeah, because Stefania puts in the chat, the live chat, she says she got fired in Atlanta. She lied to protect her friend's husband. He was being investigated for child porn, and she told the detective to drop the case. Wow.
Yeah, but I don't think she's the focus, bro. Like, because
no. I just heard it. I just heard about that. Yeah.
But you know, a chief doesn't really interact with a specialized unit like that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, when I say leadership reflects attitude, it's usually a sergeant or a lieutenant whose attitude is pushed down on the guys who are out there doing whatever they're doing, whether it's right or wrong.
Yo, Ty, hold that thought, and then I want you to come back and answer this comment. Kim said the racial part is the fact that a black chief felt like black folks needed jump out forces in their black communities. Nobody hates black folks more than their black folks. We're fighting ourselves, robbers, haters, and police. It's too much. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with that, because you have individuals like myself, you and Chuck, that worked in black communities, and we were in plain clothes, and I don't recall any of us treating anyone like that. You know, listen, it's all based on, like I said, a lot of times the leadership and where their mentality is when they're in uniform or whether they're out of uniform and what they're doing. And that's what it is, you know, bottom line.
Chuck, your thoughts?
The bottom line is, man, like once, like Ty said, we all look at it from a value of how we were raised and how we also wish to treat other human beings. Now, don't get me wrong. There were times as me being a lieutenant, I walk into a room, let's say, of somebody of color, and I would assume that when they saw me, it was like, okay, a safe haven for them, because now they had someone they could relate to. And there were certain people that when I walked in the door, I was like, oh, here, excuse the expression, oh, look at this nigga here. So now I have to come from the position of, whoa. It could be one of two things, man. If you want some white cat to come in here who now doesn't understand the culture of who and where you are, because I grew up in these streets, I know what this is about, and he takes a different approach, I'll be more than happy to leave. And then when I have to throw it in their face in that direction, all of a sudden they change their mindset. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to create any issues. Now, if you want, you can have that other white lieutenant come through here and handle this, and it may go a different way. You know what I mean? But for the most part, like I said, and Ty hit it on the head, it all has to do with regardless of you, whether you're white, black, or Hispanic, right? It's your character, all right? Your character is a reflection of who and what you are and how you treat people. If your character is shit, it doesn't make a difference what position I put you in, all right? I don't care how much training I send you to. If your character is shit, it's always going to be that way, and it's unfortunate. And I think, once again, we said it has to do with weeding out those particular individuals at the inception, before they even get to that uniform, before you give them that shield. There has to be a way of understanding and seeing what a human's character is prior to them getting in that uniform. And God forbid, if they have a Napoleon complex, You're just adding to it by giving them a freaking uniform. Because if they were one of those cats that always got beat up in school or they got pushed around or something like that, and now their overall goal for wanting to be a cop is because they want to have some type of power, they want to have some type of control. That's the cat you don't want on this job, you know. But unfortunately, there are people like that that do see through the cracks, and you don't see their true colors until once they get in uniform. And sometimes you hear it even when you're in the academy, right? Because I had some cats that was in my academy class that I was like, whoa, how the hell this guy did in here, man? This guy's a racist, or he's a bigot, or something to that nature. You know what I'm saying? That's from the academy. Sometimes you would hear it. So it's unfortunate, man, but it has to start from inception, and it has to do with an individual's character, man, and moral fiber.
Yeah. Rich, give me 2 minutes, your feedback on what the gentleman said, and then I'm going to read some comments, and then we're going to go to the video.
Well, I agree with what Chuck said about your character. If you have a good character, your reputation will take care of itself. But again, I'm just stuck with the whole mentality of turning a blind eye to the heavy-handed, so to speak, officers that police the neighborhood alongside you. I mean, if you don't change it, it's not going to get changed. If that officer that was tasked to come out there and protect and serve the public, not protect and serve his partner, protect and serve the public. That's what everybody that signs up for this shit is tasked to do. And I know the mindset is okay. It's about getting home safe. And even like with Serpico, you know, he was afraid that they was going to kill him for being that good guy. But sacrifices have to be made if change is going to happen, right? So if you're not willing to sacrifice the whole thing about, if I go and I do this, what the bosses is going to say because they support this. If you don't want to shine a light on that by being that sacrificial lamb, so to speak, it ain't never going to change, you know? So if you keep the mindset that, you know, I'm just going to stand over here and let that happen over there because it's only happening to us, you know.
Right.
The little beat downs and everything that the white guys get because they dope fiends and they ain't living in an impoverished area and all that. They don't get what we get, you know. They catching the cold, we catching the flu, right? Yeah. So if you find with that, it ain't going to change because only you are in the position to change it. And it may take some sacrifices of careers. It probably will take a sacrifice of your career, maybe even your life, right? But if you're not willing to do it, to change how our people are being treated because you just simply not willing to do it because you over here, like you on another class now. You on that step where this shit ain't going to affect you. It's not going to affect me because I'm a cop. If I go along with this shit, I'm good. But if I buck the system, I might lose my job. I might lose my life. I might be humiliated, whatever. But if you're not willing to do it, then hey, it ain't nothing gonna change.
Well,
you know,
let me just say this. I totally agree with you. And I guess maybe to the protocol and your standard that you just said, I can't speak for any of these other gentlemen. Maybe I didn't do that, right? Because the bottom line is not that I wasn't built for it, but you talking about losing job and maybe losing life. Maybe this is my calling right here to put myself out here in this individual and ask all you gentlemen to be a part of this change that I can do. But the one thing is I didn't have anybody ever put their hands on somebody in front of me. And I never had anybody go to the extent that what we're talking about, abusive force of power. Now, if I knew somebody was heavy-handed and I didn't go to the supervisor and say, yo, you need to watch that dude, then I'm guilty of that, man. But the bottom line is what I don't see, I don't hear, and what I don't hear, I don't see. And it's not my problem because the bottom line is I'm not a supervisor. I'm just trying to make my way in a unit or a police force, and I'm just trying to get to that day to day. Let me tell you something. I don't want my name to be martyred like Serpico's. You know what I'm saying? Or galvanized. I didn't want that at that time. So, but you know what I do? I will say, It's easy for the person on the outside to say you should do something like that. It really is. And that's no disrespect. And I ain't taking shots, but I've always seen the person from the corner. You ain't do that. I could have. Dog, you only know about, it's like death. You only know what's death feel like until you experience it. When somebody in your loved one passes away. Everybody can say my condolences, but until you lose a loved one, a mother or father, you don't know what that shit feel like. So I say that in regards to somebody saying, well, you should do this and you should do that. It ain't the same. And like I said, I put the onus on me. If I fell short of that in my career, then I got to take that, Rich. I really do. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Phil, I'm not pointing no fingers at nobody. I'm not doing that. You know?
I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying. But hold on, what I'm saying,
right?
But what I'm trying to say is that you said about what should be done and what shouldn't be done. I'm not you my dog. I ride with you 100%. Listen, I'm just saying that if that is the protocol or that's the prototype of what the standard is, then I'm saying I can't speak for these other gentlemen. I'm saying that maybe I fell short because if I know someone to have a heavy hand and I didn't go to Sergeant O'Malley or Sergeant Johnson or Sergeant Muhammad and say, yo, I think dude has a heavy hand, because that's what you're kind of saying. Like, I'm putting it out there like, yo, you had a couple of perps, his prisoners, his arrests that have had, lacerations or fat lips or something like that. Like, yo, you don't see that? And like Kevin said earlier, there's accountability. We know who they are. Right?
But Bill, you said that a lot of y'all guys declined to work with them.
Absolutely.
I wasn't just saying report them. I said also, if you, I guess that part went over everybody's head. If you in the room, it ain't gonna happen because they know you ain't with it.
So but we're not trying to even be in the room. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Rich. Look, and it's not even the heavy-handed too.
All I'm saying is that a sacrifice has to be made some shape, form, or fashion. Yeah. I'm not saying to you go snitch on the dude. If the dude know that you ain't with that shit, that at that point in time, you saved the motherfucker's life tonight because you decided to work with this motherfucker and make sure he don't break the law.
Rich, let me just say this. Rich, you I'm sure, and I'm not trying to be funny. You've had relationships and you decided, yo, listen, this ain't working between the two of us. I got to move on. You got to move on. That's the same way with working with a partner. Let me tell you something. The best thing about this job is having a partner that you can work with. Like I worked with Kevin. We was on the roofs of buildings, climbing alleys, gates. I know what he can do. Ty and I go way back. Chuck and I go way back before this damn job. I met Chuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what I'm trying to say is I know these guys. Now, the only person I know these guys from different aspects, just like I know you. I really feel in the heat of a moment. Like Alonzo and I went to college together. We played ball together. So I know the essence of a man. The only thing I don't know is if we getting down in the alley of the man. You understand what I'm saying? I assume each man here, if I'm in the alley, we gonna try to come out. But do I know the integrity? Do I think I know the integrity of a man? Absolutely. I can speak accountability for each and every one of you guys. You know what I'm saying? Everybody here, Rich, I've known you from Harlem, and you may know me, but the bottom line is, look, since we've been rocking, we family, bro. But Chuck, Alonzo has known me the longest, since 1982, right? We college, high school, college, ball together. Ty, we've known each other since the late 80s. Kevin and I, we was working together in the 90s. Chuck and I, we've known each other damn near 30 years. So what I'm trying to say is, I know for the essence of the man that I feel like I know that, listen, what their integrity is about. But listen, would I tell these men to put their job on? I'm gonna put it out here, right here in the front. This is Real Talk Chronicles, but I got to show this video. And everybody, Laura, everybody, I apologize for not reading your comments. I want to get to your comments. There was an investigation on me. Chuck is my witness. Chuck knew about the investigation because of his integrity and whatever the situation was. Chuck did not tell me, and I'm talking about we was already 20 in the game, right? He did not tell me, but when it came to fruition, I came to the office in inspections. I was like, "Oh shit, Chuck, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Yo, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I had to respect his job to understand that, he didn't send word via this and that. And he said to me, B, after I looked at the case, I felt like it was BS. It wasn't that serious. I wasn't mad at that man for not coming to me and saying, yo, they watching you anyway, or this in the case. Chuck, am I lying? Is this real talk or what?
No, it's real talk. If it was something I thought that was going to really create an issue, I'd have gave him a heads up in a very odd way, very convoluted way. But I
Yeah.
made it my business. I made it my business to oversee the investigation. When I read this is bullshit. I'm gonna get rid of this shit. I'm gonna do what I have to do in my
and the bottom line is,
to make
Chuck,
sure.
they went to the complainant's house. He didn't even want
Right.
to talk to them. So what I'm trying to
Right.
say is that he didn't have to tell me he had my back to have my back. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, yeah, another cat would have been on some, yo, you could have told me we out partying and drinking and all that shit. Yo, listen, the fact that I didn't get burnt and the fact that I knew I was squeaky clean on it, it didn't come. Now, when it came about to some other shit, I knew what I had to do and handle my business on my accord. But what I'm just trying to say is people are not going to jeopardize Rich. Motherfuckers driving Cadillacs and Saabs and BMWs and got babies running around the house and people ain't jeopardizing that, bro, just to say like, yo, I want to work with this dude and I'm going to be the difference maker in this. People are not doing that. And fellas, correct me here. Everybody here drive luxury vehicles and shit like that. And Kevin like climbing rocks and mountains. So you think Kevin compromise his rock climbing and shit for some motherfucker? But I mean, and I'm just keeping it 100. Everybody here got a pension because they did what they were supposed to do. I didn't let it happen in my face. Nobody's going to go and say, yo, listen, I'm going to tell on Richard Williams that he's heavy-handed, and I'm going to work with him, and I'm going to make my life miserable just to protect John and Jane King Public. It's not happening, bro. It really is not happening. And that's real talk. It is. But I respect what you're saying. Listen, I've had this conversation with my uncle, other people that always say, why come? How come? Yo, I wish I would have been there to be a part of it, man. Anybody else?
Hey, can I say,
yeah,
let me say something, Bill. And this is really what Richard said, has a lot of validity. And I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say this is a reason, not an excuse. You take any industry, you take any job, you take any aspect of our personal lives, right? Where we see all the time where people who are associated with each other oftentimes don't hold each other accountable, right? You work at a McDonald's, one worker see the other worker stealing burgers every day. Oftentimes they won't turn that person in. You got doctors who have knowledge of other doctors, committing malpractice of some sort, or maybe committing, wire fraud because they're, fraudulently billing people, right? Excessively. They're not turning each other in. It's just human nature for the average person to try to shy away from those types of bad things. And again, not an excuse, but it's just something that's inherent in pretty much every human being. Most human beings are going to try to
I totally
avoid.
agree with you. I think I really want to pick this up maybe next week. If you all want to come back, we can pick this up because the bottom line is I don't want to deviate from. I think this is part of the solution. We understand the problem, but now this is the solution. So if people are willing to come back, whomever and whenever you guys, whenever you can. But the thing is, I'm just saying this, and and this is me. I don't see anybody jeopardizing their job for that. That's all I'm just trying to say. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to say. You are right. You're right, Alonzo. Somebody we working at McDonald's or Burger King. Sharon stealing burgers. Yo, that shit ain't got nothing to do with me until inventory time. And then if I'm the supervisor, then it's like, yo, Bill, you like, wait a minute, 300 burgers, you're down to the 260. What happened? Now my job on the line is Sharon. Sharon did it. If Sharon can get away with stealing burgers, because maybe she got 3 kids and this is the only way she can supplement her income. I don't know if I might be turning my head to that. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, everybody here knows the police culture. We've all said it. We've all done it. I don't want to know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, Kevin, Chuck. We've all listen. Whatever they're doing, I don't want to know. If he's talking to her, he's married and she's married. They cheating on each other. I don't want to know. We don't want to know. So that is what we're taught. We're taught, let's wait to the facts. We're taught not to speak out about issues like this. And we're all taught, I don't want to know. I'm just saying, is that real? Or am I wrong with that? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, but we can't take that stance anymore. If
well, that's why we're here now.
People are getting murdered.
Well, that's why we're here now. That's why I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We're here now because the bottom line is, I have no problems. I don't care about police friends anymore. I don't care who likes me or doesn't like me. You didn't kick my ass then. You sure ain't kicking my ass now. Yeah, so it doesn't make a difference to me. You understand what I'm saying? I've never been the person that got along to get along. I've always been that little lone wolf. You understand what I'm saying? You like me. Yo, you see me at the racket or the Christmas party, you want to buy me a drink? Cool. Listen, how many years later? I'm not getting invited to the Christmas party. It's okay. I know how to make my own party. So it is what it is. Listen, how many people that I still speak to out of law enforcement? Kevin is probably one of a few that I worked in a 2-8 with that I speak to on a regular basis. Why is that? Do we have the same ideology to a certain degree? Absolutely. You other guys, I knew before the job. So it is what it is.
Hey, Bill, I just believe that you guys have approached policing in your era, and you kind of pioneered what you did in your era. But everything happens in stages, right? This era of policing is different, right?
Absolutely.
And it's up to them now to take it to the next level to clear this shit up, you know? Because there was a point where you weren't even allowed to be a cop. Then when you were allowed to be a cop, you were restricted totally of what you can and can't do. But these things have changed in different eras and different stages to where it is today. You did what you could do at your point, right? And now it's for other officers to recognize what their responsibility is to make these changes. Because we can sit here every day, all day, talking about what the problem is, but are we talking about what the solution is to these problems? And sometimes those things are uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah.
To talk about making a sacrifice or making a decision to make a change that might cost you something,
So,
right?
Rich,
Now, Serpico, hold on, Serpico, when he did what he did, guess who he was protecting? He wasn't protecting white folks. He was addressing the shit that was happening to us. And this is a white man. He saw that shit, and he was willing to put his life, his career on the line for people that didn't even look like him. So are we not willing to do that for ourselves? To me, that's something that it's embarrassing to me, you know, that we're not willing to take that next step, right? And again, it's not a shot at y'all. It's just that y'all did what y'all can do from where y'all was sitting at. And it's a lot of wheels. It's a lot of pieces to this machine that's working, right? And you do what you can, but to do nothing is not acceptable. And to just turn the eye like, I'm just gonna let it rock, you know, because I don't want to. Nah, fuck that.
Right.
You know?
I get it.
Rich, I hear what you're saying about what we could have done and should have done, and I can't argue with you. We have explanations of why it's done the way it's done, and your theory behind it is still solid, and I'm with you. But here's my challenge. We have a mayor who's now been in office for, is it 2 years? Or is it a full year?
A year and some change, right?
1 full year?
Yeah.
Has he come out with a plan to change anything with policing? I haven't heard anything. There is absolutely no new law you can create to change any of this. This is murder. What law can you create that's a higher charge than murder?
Well, let me ask you something, Kevin.
No, let me finish. The change has to come from that direction, right? There's a plan. Does he bring together a council of people like the six of us sitting here with a couple of more civilians to come up with a plan? Right? Where is this discussion on how to weed out? It's not just the heavy-handed cops; it's the cops who are just assholes, right? Who are fuck you, Rich, when they see you, right? That's their attitude. Fuck you. There's all having a bad day. I can have a bad day, and I can tell you to go fuck yourself one day while working because I'm having stress at home. One day's all right, but I routinely talk to people in the public like that. Gone. But is there a plan to help with that? No. Is there a plan to fix the academy to weed them out from the beginning? Nope. Is there a plan to test cops more while this is all going on? Nope. People keep talking about reform and they keep talking about laws have to change. There's no law that has to be changed. The mayor of New York City could change it today. He could put together a group of people, council, formal. You got to have both. You got to have civilians and formal law enforcement in there. You can't have one side or the other. You have to have both. Sit them down at the table. So let's come up with a plan and let's start changing this. Most of us are what this group is right here, Rich. Most cops are us, right? It really is. We don't want them. I don't want them in there, but it's not my plan. I made it to the rank of sergeant. Alonzo made it to the rank of captain. That man sitting in the mayor's office can change it completely in New York City. Not only could he change that, and I'll go into the other thing you mentioned earlier, he could change the systematic poverty that's existed in New York City. And I've mentioned this 100 times on this show with Bill.
What can he do?
Schools, the lousiest public schools are in poor neighborhoods. The best public schools are in rich neighborhoods. That's completely ass backwards. Completely backwards. Our best public school should be in our poor neighborhoods. Our investment should be there from day one. All right. And there's money to do it. It's very simple policy of we have plenty of millionaires and billionaires in New York City. You get them to buy that school. Bloomberg buys a school, gets his name on it for 25 years for $25 million. That school's got $25 million in the pocket to change. And you do that to start off with 5 schools in real poor areas. Let's change them. But we have somebody in office. I don't see shit. I hear lots of talk. I hear complaints. I hear all these things going on, but people in power, they just recycle things and nothing happens. Zero.
That's Real Talk. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I got Alonzo Moreland. I got Tyrone Butler. I got Kevin Branzetti. I got Richard Williams and Chuck Richards. I want to read some of these comments, and then, Kevin, I want to show this video. We can pick this back up next week.
I got it cut off soon.
Okay, yeah. So show the video. Go ahead. Go show the video, bro. Go ahead.
I'm waiting for you.
Oh, okay, my bad. Laura, I see your comments. I know we want to talk about something. Everybody, we're going to pick this up next week. I just don't want to keep it. We're going past 2 hours, and I think it's just crazy. But that just means we wanted to talk about this. So I apologize to anybody that I have not read your comments, because that means the world of me for you to be sitting here and you giving your input. And I will discuss this with you anytime that you want to, but I want everybody to understand that it's not, don't blame it on the eyes, blame it on the heart. But these gentlemen all have given a time, as you have to give their input. And sometimes I just can't put it in. I will extend the olive branch. Kevin knows this. Anybody that wants to be a part of the dais, all you got to do is just say, yo, B, on a Wednesday, I want to be a part of this. Can I get down? I got some verbs and adjectives I want to share. Let's rock out. You're more than welcome. Go ahead, Kev. I'm adding it now. Go ahead. Everybody, this is a disclaimer. If you don't want to watch this, please do not. This is what we're seeing.
Yeah, right. I mean, There just ain't no point in that. Right?
Yeah,
Every one of us has
none.
been in this scenario. The taser, Alonzo, you mentioned earlier, if we watch the whole thing, argue there's really no need. It's 4, 5, 6 of us on one man. It's a wrestling
And,
match.
and he's handcuffed.
Straight
He's
knees.
handcuffed. He's
Yeah.
handcuffed. So what's the purpose? He's handcuffed at this point.
But they beat him just like they beat Rodney King.
Yeah. There's
So Rodney got to live.
They beat him worse.
They beat him worse, yeah.
He died. He died, yeah.
From his beating.
Hands. Right? I mean, one cop kept circling until they wanted the other guys to hold him and kept circling until he got a solid face shot. What?
I got a grandson, 17 years old. And I have to talk to him about, how he's not privileged to say or do certain things for fear that some shit like that could happen to him. And that's a conversation that most Black people have with their sons. I took my grandson to the 32nd precinct. He goes to the Percy Sutton Educational Complex, the Eagle Academy. 32nd precinct is literally down the street. I walked him into the precinct and introduced him to the commander and every cop in there that I knew and said, this is my grandson, right? So I wanted him to know them and them to know him for the sheer fact that I didn't want no mistakes happening with my grandson.
But you know what's so funny, Rich? Like when Ty and I, and shout out to Big Russ for doing the Princess Barbarian thing.
Yeah, my grandson was in that program.
Yeah, but before we get out of here, I just want to say this. Ty and I, when we had the officers come from the 3-2 and speak with us, I told the kids, I said, listen, these officers see you, but they won't remember you. It's you that have to initiate hey, how are you? I'm so-and-so from Thurgood Marshall. You were speaking with Detective Butler and Detective Foster. Oh, okay. That is all forms of de-escalating. Listen, I speak to officers to this day. Some don't even speak back. What am I going to do? But, when you try to give back to your community to a certain thing, people, either you're a speaker or you're not. Like somebody wave at me, I'm a waver. Hey, you know what I'm saying? That's just who I was on patrol. But the bottom line is, if you're a miserable son of a gun, then you're going to be miserable. You're going to do miserable shit, bro. It is what it is. That's what happens. Ty, your thoughts on that? Alonzo, Chuck, and then Kev. And then Rich.
Based on what Chuck and Rich said and Kev said, the bottom line is this. And it's not just in policing, it's in any occupation, whether you're a doctor, politician, any occupation. Your talents, your skills, and your abilities are going to take you to a certain point in life, to a certain level, to a certain stage in life, right? And then once you get there, the only thing that's going to sustain you or help you move forward is your character. And the whole world saw the character of these 5 or 6 individuals, and it's a shame, and I hope it's a lesson to those whose character is not in alignment with whatever occupation they have, whether they're a gynecologist that's abusing their power and molesting their patients, to an officer that's doing what you just saw happening, or a politician that's trying to change the curriculum because he doesn't want African American studies being taught. It is what it is, and us being this small group have to come together with other groups to try and help people understand the problem and ways to change it. And Kevin had a great point. If they brought individuals like us back into the academy to teach, the next generation, or to reteach those that have been out there for 5 or 10 years. You know, I think it would change things. I think it would help. I could tell you from even when I would go to academy and teach, and I would ask a simple question in a class of recruits, a class of 35 individuals. By a show of hands, how many individuals here ever been in a fight? Mind you, they're 20-something years old. They're in the academy. They've been through the military, some of them, and maybe 4 or 5 out of the class of 35 raise their hand that they've ever been in a physical altercation. So now you're going to put them out on the street, and the first time they're in an altercation, they're not going to know how to handle themselves because of the training they got in a gym. You know, something has to be instilled in them. You know, it's just like with any of us who play sports. You could have individuals that have skill, and then some whose skill and talent isn't as great as the other. But if that individual has a heart and he has knowledge of how to play the game, sometimes he can be on the level of someone who has a great skill. You know, so, and those are things that need to be inputted into this generation and some of these other generations that are already out here.
Thank you. Tyre, give us some positive affirmation. And then, like I said, I'm extending the olive branch to all of you to come back so we can next week, Wednesday, so we can talk about the solution. We talked about the problem. Let's talk about the solution.
Right now, come back.
Huh?
I can come back.
You knock it off. You know you're always welcome back. Don't play with my emotions. Ty, before I go to
positive affirmation. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And
absolutely. Thank
you know, that's it.
Thank. Buck, Alonzo, give us your thoughts on what we did tonight, and then give us some positive affirmations, and then I'll go to Chuck and Rich and Kev.
Yeah, great conversation, gentlemen. Richard, I especially, loved hearing your perspective, especially coming from, outside the profession, if I could put it that way. We all want the same things. And I think tonight, this conversation and the chat forum, it just proves we all want the same thing. We want good policing. We want police officers to do their jobs and service us well, right? And we all want to be a part of the solution. Now now we need to find out what those solutions are and how to implement it. But it's obvious that we all want the same things. And positive affirmation, every day we wake up with the opportunity to be better than we was yesterday. And every day we wake up, to new possibilities. I think it's incumbent upon all of us to search ourselves and find ways each and every day, because it's in us. It's in us and it's within us.
Ashe, I appreciate that. Real talk. Chuck, your turn, brother.
Brothers, I think you guys have said it all throughout the course of this evening. Your input, your insight, and your focus and perspective on this situation and many other topics of discussion that we've had in the past, and I'm hopefully we'll also continue this in the future. You all have a certain aptitude in understanding things and putting things in perspective, which is always a refreshing thing to do. And I'm glad, and I feel honored to be a part of the panel. In terms of positive affirmations, all I have to say is, understand very clearly that love is an easy thing, man. It's an easy thing. We all have to show love to one another and respect one another for who we are as human beings. If we're able to look at each other and understand that every living being on this earth is equal to one another, that might be the overall issue. That if we can get over that hump, that hurdle, understanding that I value you as a human being, I value you as someone who I should have empathy for and show compassion, then that can go a long way. Even first and foremost within our own community, because if we don't love each other, if you don't love yourself, right, you can't love somebody else, man. So it has to start internally. You have to have some type of love and compassion and grace for yourself in order to be able to bestow that upon other people. And I think a lot of what policing is about, it's about showing compassion, it's about showing empathy, it's about showing grace. And I think a lot of that is lost, and it has been lost, and it continues to show that it, for argument's sake, outside of the issues associated with these heinous issues that have occurred, it's taken away and put a bad taste in everyone's mouth in regards to just being able to show that police officers overall are human beings. We are human beings, and that's what it has to come down to, being and understanding that there is a human element and that there's humanity in all of us, even within police officers.
Appreciate you, Rich. Thoughts on tonight, and then your positive affirmation, please.
Oh man, we had a beautiful conversation, and I just want to just double down on the fact that I respect every last one of you brothers that are here on this panel, and those that are in law enforcement that are living on their character, right? And I do believe that change is gonna happen. We might not like Martin Luther King said, I might not get there with you, but I can see it.
Right.
Because it can work and it can change. People just got to be willing to do it, And I do believe that this is going to work. It starts with the conversation and coming up with solutions to the problem, and then start implementing these ideas and these changes that need to take place, So with that, like I always say, we woke up with the 2 C's, a chance to be on this show and a choice to make that change.
Absolutely. Respect. Appreciate you. Kev.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you all. It's a great evening. What do we go? Almost 2.5 hours, and it felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah, right.
That's how well it went.
Yes.
Change happens when both sides sit down. Good change. Bad change happens that doesn't solve problems when one side only comes up with a solution. It's got to be both. So you got to be talking. You got to talk to people out of your comfort zone, and it becomes your comfort zone. This is how we become friends. For the cop out there, talk to the guy on the street you just walk past every day. Say hello. Smile. Can't hurt. For the person on the street, you see that cop, same thing. Say hello. If we all look at each other as the problem, we are the problem.
Absolutely.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Positive affirmation, Kev? That was it?
Yeah, well, my thing is, it was talk. My positive is always talk. And look, maybe even more now than normal the other times I say it. Take a break one day every week. Take a break from the news. It hurts your soul. If you're watching this video and talking about this every day, it hurts your soul.
Yeah.
You need a break. You need to recharge. Everybody knows how I like to recharge.
Climbing rocks and playing with them beers. I'm really close to this shit.
No, but you got to have your thing. It could be sitting down reading a book. It could be riding a bike. It could be, music. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Shut this down and recharge your battery.
Everybody, listen, first and foremost, I'm humbled and appreciative that you will all put your evening in my hands and listen to me and my friends give you our opinions in what we see in life. Real talk is something. It's my baby. Listen, a lot of I do a brunch party. It's the easiest thing for me to do is bring people together and like that. I'm trying to bring people together in this aspect. Stimulate your minds with my friends, and I call these my friends and my brothers and my sisters, whomever joins. I love it. It means the world to me because we all are trying to solve the problem, and we don't get stuck on what the problem is. We're trying to find a solution. Excuse me. When we talk about positive affirmation, listen. Positivity. Stay with positivity. Everybody right here, be a part of some kind of solution. You know what I'm saying? Like we can all sit back and talk about he, she, coulda, woulda, did it. But what are you doing to be a part of it? Are you mentoring? Are you going to community board meetings? Are you talking to somebody the youth, or what is it that you're doing? How about that? What is it that you're doing to help with this? I apologize for those like Laura. You put some great comments in. I asked my panel nicely, please, if you get a chance, go to YouTube and look at this segment and then comment and reply to people, because people have some great dialogue. Gentlemen, I ask you to come back whenever you're available, but also too, because we only have Black History Month that they allot us, I would love you men to come back and give your perspective maybe in 2 weeks. If you can't come back next week, but in 2 weeks, next week, I would love for us to talk about the solution of what we saw tonight. Let's talk about that solution. But in 2 weeks, let's talk about what it's like to be proud to be a Black African law enforcement or just a Black man. And Kev, you can come and talk. And Kev, wait a minute. Kev, you can come and talk what it's like to be working with some proud Black men that you've worked with. How about that? You know what I'm saying? If you're busy, I get it. But you know what's so funny? Positivity. Because when we talk about Black History Month, it is not just 28 days. It's 365, 7, 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? It Black history affects everybody's history. If you don't know that, then you're not woke. And I can't help you because I'm still shaking you and I'm trying to get you alive. Laura Gall, Ernie, like Rochelle, everybody, yo, listen, fellas, when you get a chance, they've given each and every one of you some compliments. Go back, share it. Everybody, please subscribe to Real Talk Chronicles. Help me build this content. Loving God is a privilege. I see all your questions and comments. I apologize because these gentlemen had so much intellectual dialogue that they gave out. I couldn't stop them and read your comments. I will try to go back and converse with you via this. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. Alonzo Moreland, Ty Butler, Kevin Branzetti, Richard Williams, Chuck Richards. Listen, I appreciate you. Force of the moment, man, with positive vibes. We out.
Good night.
Peace. Good night.
Good night. Catch a cab.